So yesterday we started talking about the Pythagorean Theorem. We looked at the Pythagorean Theorem with starbursts and making different squares with them and how those squares are all related. Just to backtrack real quick and get in some of that vocab. In a right triangle, the two sides adjacent to the right angle, or the two sides that form that right angle, are called legs. And in our formula, the numbers from our legs are going to be our A number and our B number. It really doesn't matter if I say A and B or if I flip it A and B. Either way, it'll work out. The side opposite the right angle, yesterday we drew an arrow all the way across, is called the hypotenuse, or C. The very, very, very first thing every single time we have a problem is draw an arrow, label your C. That matters. This is the only side that can be C. I can flip around A and B, but my side across from my my side across from my right angle has to be C. C is always our longest side. So the Pythagorean Theorem is all about figuring out the side lengths of right triangles. And yesterday we looked specifically at their areas, how many starbursts it took to make the square on the side of the triangle. In any right triangle, the area of the hypotenuse side, so yesterday we had like our little squares and we talked about their areas, is equal to the sum of the area of my two smaller squares. And we have this formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. First thing, every single problem, draw an arrow across, label that as your C. Every stinking time. If I walk around, I better see an arrow pointing to C. And then it doesn't matter which side is A and which side is B, as long as my C is in the right spot. Okay? Every single problem, every single time, draw an arrow, label your C, label your other two sides A and B. So if I look on number 1, it doesn't give me my little right angle, but I can see where it is. I'm going to draw my arrow, label C, pick one side as A, pick one side as B. So when we are working through these problems, first thing we're going to do every single time is we're going to write our formula. It seems silly at first, I get that, but it's going to be super useful. Trust me on it. We're going to write our formula, we're going to plug our numbers in. So instead of A squared, I'm going to say 3 squared. Instead of B squared, I'm going to say 4 squared equals C squared. And this I can type in on my calculator, so I can say 3 squared, that squared button's right here across from the 7, is 9, plus 4 squared, which is 16, equals, I don't know what C is. If I'm thinking about our starburst activity yesterday, these number right here, that 3 and my 4, are telling me my side lengths. This 9 and 16 are telling me how many total starbursts each of those sides had to fill up their square. So if my two little squares, if this little square needed 9 starbursts, this square right here needed 16 starbursts, I know that this square right here would need 25 starbursts. And that's the example that we did yesterday with your bag of starburst. But this right here is not my answer. My goal is to find the side length. Not just how many starbursts, but how long that side would be. And some of you are like, well, duh, the answer is blah, blah, blah. For some of us, it's not that obvious. If it is not super obvious what we're doing, because this is c squared, and I want to get it down to just c, my very last step every single time, second x squared. I'm going to take the square root of this number. There's my answer. And I'm going to make a note right here. My last step every time is square root. Every stinking time, I got to take that square root. So we're going to try number 2, then I'm going to turn you loose for a second. I'm going to draw my arrow across, label my C. Pick one side to be A, one side to be B. It doesn't matter which is which, as long as my C is correct. Gonna write my formula. Actually, let's do this. Let's make ourselves a post-it note of steps, something that you can look back at. So my first step, we're gonna write our formula. We're gonna substitute our numbers. So instead of saying a squared, a is 7, so I'm going to say 7 squared, plus, instead of b squared, 24 squared equals c squared. Then we're going to solve and simplify. So I can say 7 squared is 49. 24 squared is 576. That's why that calculator is so helpful. Equals c squared. I'm going to do that math. 49 plus 576. 625. I'm almost done. But my last step every time is square root. So I'm going to take the square root of that 625. The square root of 625 is 25. Here's what I want you to do. Oh wait, let's add that on there. My last step is to take that square root. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do number 3. I'll give you a heads up that is going to be a decimal, so I want you to round to 1 decimal place. 17.5, 26.3. When that's done, I'm going to walk around and check you just to make sure we're on the right page. And then I want you to start on this homework page. So on the homework page, I've highlighted, but you're not going to be able to see the whole page at one time. I want you to start out doing problems 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7. Start out with those. So we're going to pause the video, work through those problems. I'm going to leave it right here, so this would be a good screen for you to pause. When it's done, come back to the video because we still have a few more things. So go ahead and pause it now. Looking at that other page on the back, now when I draw my arrow, I can see that they gave me C. We're still going to label. We're still going to plug in what I can, but this time I'm plugging in a number on my C side. I can do the math that I can. 25 plus something equals 169. So a while ago I had 2 numbers on the same side that I could add together. But now that my numbers are on different sides, we're going to subtract 169 minus 25, which will give me 144. My last step every single time, take that square root, which will give you my answer. The only thing that's different about these problems, when given C, I subtract before I square root. The video is going to end. I want you to do 5 and 6, then finish out that homework page. Okay, so finish out the homework page all the way 1 through 8. As people start to finish it, we should have time for GimKit today. Let's get busy.